Hey guys, what is going on everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gents, welcome back to a brand new Blitz News Update. And today we are going to be discussing all of the lovely news from LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2, specifically as it ascertains to E3 2017. So I, of course, did have the privilege to actually play the game at E3. I got to try out the demo. I got to actually be one of the very first few people to play the multiplayer outside of the developers. So that was a lot of fun and very cool to actually interact with. So really glad to have had that opportunity. But having also seen the game in person and gotten some extra insight, I'm super duper excited to share all the information with you guys. Now, keep in mind the way that this is going to work out, because there really was a ton, and I mean a ton of news that we got from E3, whether it be characters, some confirmations about hub worlds, and some other things that I don't even know, honestly, if people picked up on necessarily during all the different streams and all the different appearances, because I literally saw Arthur Parsons running to GameSpot, to IGN, to the WB presentation, and from one to the other, having to do all these presentations over and over again, answering different types of questions. Now, of course, me being a part of the WB presentation, I really did want to ask certain questions, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, XMen, but I was kind of like feeling like, there was a time and a place, and that wasn't it. Let's put it that way. So essentially, that's the information that I wanted to portray before we get into the actual news. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the general stuff and then work our way closer and closer to the more specific stuff, such as the actual characters that were announced. So if you want to hear about like the announcements of characters like Agent Venom, you can wait until the latter half of the video, or I guess skip to the latter half of the video in order to do so. So with that all in mind, ladies and gents, let us begin with, first and foremost, the confirmation of the fact that there will be indeed 18 different sections that will comprise Chronopolis. So I was on the couch when Phil actually answered this question about how many actual areas are there within the Chronopolis hub world, and he answered with 18 different sections, or at least 18, because of course we could get more DLC and more parts and pieces that will then maybe kind of attach themselves and make the Chronopolis hub world grow even further. Now, one thing that I personally brought up was that it actually makes sense for the hub world to be assembled the way that it is, or Chronopolis to be assembled the way that it is, because guess what? It is within the actual storyline of Kang putting all these worlds together and bringing them all together. So it is really cool that it's not just there because, oh, well, it would just be cool to have a huge giant world that has a whole bunch of different areas to it. But instead, it's more so argued through the actual storyline. Like, hey, the story is why this world looks the way that it does. So I'm really excited about that. Now, of course, within the world itself, they showed different parts of the world, such as Noir, New York, and they hovered over other areas. We didn't really see all the different areas, but we saw like the underwater hub worlds as well, which looked really cool, which literally in order to get to it, all you have to do is get into the water and swim down and you're going to get there. How cool is that? Like, that is something that many of us as LEGO fans wanted to see, and now it's actually becoming a reality. So that's really cool. Or you could fly way up into space and get into the area known as Nowhere from the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I love that. I think that's a really cool idea. And keep in mind, again, the other thing that I always emphasize to people, especially the people who were telling me like, oh, the hub worlds, they look like maybe they need some more touch-ups and blah, 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 blah. To me personally, what I saw looked pretty detailed and quite well done. But again, I didn't see everything, so I can't really vouch for the entire experience yet. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that we are only in June. The game comes out in November, so I'm guessing until October at least, maybe even halfway through October or something like that, they would have time to still work on the game and work out any types of little kinks and additions that they need to add. So keep that in mind. There's still plenty of time before the title will become available. So from there, let's transition into something that I don't know if many people actually picked up on, because I didn't really see anyone talk about it until I would bring it up in conversations, and that is the new character grid. And yes, of course, people noticed that, hey, it looks a lot more different, because typically you would only get the face of the characters. The typical LEGO character grid would just have little circle designs, and within the circle, you would have the face of the character that you would want to select. Well, they have gone away from that with LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 to much more of a trading card system. So from what I understand, you will basically be collecting the trading cards or unlocking them. And then as you're hovering over the character, you'll be able to click a button and get more information, such as like the first appearance of the character and stuff like that. And I think that that's a really tiny but very cool addition to the game. So I love that. I think it's cool. And I just love the whole idea of having trading cards, because then maybe you could do some sort of like trading packs where you could like trade cards, trade minifigures with friends and such. That would be amazing, because as soon as you introduce the trading card concept into the character collecting aspect of the game, it really makes you start to think into the future. Like maybe it won't be available with this game, but maybe the one after or the one after will be able to introduce some cool multiplayer modes that will allow us to take advantage of the whole trading card idea even more. Now, speaking of multiplayer, let's discuss the multiplayer mode, because I was privy to actually play it. Yes, I know people were telling me like, dude, it looks like there's a lot of input lag in the game, blah, blah, blah. That's because there was input lag. So it's not, don't worry, the game is not going to play like that. Like you're not going to press up and then the character will move like 3 seconds later. That's why we had a bit of a technical difficulty and some tough time actually showing the gameplay when we were playing up on stage. Like me or Bill Roseman, Arthur Parsons, Phil, and myself, we were all playing it, but there was clearly some technical difficulties. So keep that in mind. The whole idea behind it, from what I could understand and from what I was instructed, is that essentially the Grandmaster will be kind of surveying the field as you're playing as 4 different characters. I did ask them backstage, actually, like, are you going to be limited to only playing as minifigures, or will we be able to play as like Baby Groot, because he's a microfigure? It'd be a lot more difficult to catch up to him and hit him, let's say, in order to score points and studs so that you can increase your score or knock out the actual Infinity Gauntlet or Jam out of that person. Or would you be able to, for example, play as a Big Fig? From what I basically understood is that they're still deciding that, and it's still in the balancing phase where they're not really sure yes or no. So I guess time will tell, because when we played it, it was all minifigure size characters. So it was Rocket, Gamora, Star-Lord, and Drax. So that's why I kind of thought to myself like, that's interesting. Would you be able to play as Baby Groot or Huge Groot or, I don't know, Man-Ape or a character of that size against minifigure scaled characters? And from what I gathered, as I said before, we'll see. It really depends at this point in time. So, as far as the rest of the multiplayer mode, as I was saying before, essentially there's like these meteor, I guess, crushes or meteor drops that happen onto the map. When the meteor is just about to drop, you want to avoid it because it will damage you and destroy your character. So you'll have to respawn and then run back to that destination. But as the meteor lands, once it has landed, it will release one of the Infinity Jams. And then you do want to grab them because they will give you a power-up boost. So you saw, for example, at one point, Arthur picked up the Reality Jam, and then when you hit, I think it was circle, once you pick it up, you actually would then kind of like turn the other enemy characters into giant heads, and they become kind of immobile, kind of almost like balloon-like and such. So that's really cool. I think it's a fun game mode, and it's something that, again, you're going to be able to play online. So we're getting there. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get online co-op at some point in the future, but it's very cool that at least we're getting a multiplayer mode. So I really do love that quite a bit. Now, with that all in mind, let's go on ahead and transition into another area, and this is a very important area, and that is about the X-Men, because a lot of people are obviously still freaking out like, oh my gosh, are the X-Men going to be in this game, blah, 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 blah. And from what I could gather, there was only one person that actually, I think at least, asked Arthur this, like point blank, like, hey, are the X-Men in the game? And I think that was on the IGN stream, I'm pretty sure. I think it was Maxville or something like that his name was. I apologize that I don't remember it off the top of my head. But he asked Arthur, are the X-Men going to be in the game? And he says, from what we could gather, he's essentially saying like, we're not going to talk about that right now. He says, but do not worry, or something along those lines. And he smiled, which, you know, maybe interpret that as you will. So to me, I think it might maybe signify that some X-Men characters might be in there, maybe not all the X-Men that you would want to see, you know, like maybe Wolverine will be in there, but let's say maybe someone like Cyclops might not be, or something along those lines. The one thing that I liked the most was that I think it might have been in the same interview, or maybe the interview that he did with GameSpot, he was asked whether or not this game would be focused on the comics or the films or the cartoons and so on and so forth. And he said that this is first and foremost going to be based on the comics, like rooted in the comics. So that confirms kind of the idea that this game is not like Lego Marvel Avengers, where Lego Marvel Avengers was very specific to the MCU. It did not kind of delve into the comic book side of things as much as Lego Marvel Superheroes did. So to me, that's kind of exciting because that means that there's a much better chance, in my opinion, of the X-Men being a part of this second title. So that's a big, for me personally, right now at least, somewhat of a sigh of relief, kind of, because I agree with everyone else. I would love to obviously see the appearance of the X-Men characters in this game as well, because the more, the merrier. Now, with that in mind, now let's discuss some characters. So there were 3 characters specifically that were announced at each one of the days for the stream. So on the first day, I'm pretty sure it was when they announced Lockjaw, which was a really cool, pleasant surprise. I will say that I kind of thought Lockjaw would be bigger than what he was, but he does look awesome. I saw him up close, and very cool design for sure. I also do really like how they kept the design of Lockjaw to be unique, as far as like they didn't just take a Lego dog that they've done before and just turn it into Lockjaw. They actually made it like a unique Lego piece. So I think that that's really quite cool. And then the other characters that we got were the second character, which was announced while I was there on stage, and I freaked out. I was like, yes! Well, and then Bill went into his tirade about like how it's a really cool character, and I agree with him absolutely, and that is Agent Venom. That's like one of my favorite recent comic book runs, was the entire storyline of Flash Thompson, spoiler alert, becoming Agent Venom, and kind of the dealings that he has with trying to not lose control over his mind and give up his kind of control over the Venom suit. It's a really great series of comics. So if you haven't read that, check it out. You're not going to be disappointed. I would hope so. But the actual minifigure looks awesome. Very cool. Very well done. And just makes me hopeful that we actually get that in real life, because that would be an awesome addition to any Lego collection. And then last but certainly not least, we got on the third day the announcement of Medusa, which was kind of surprising. I was like, whoa, really? Medusa is the one that they went with? But I think that was cool. And to me, that's exactly what we want to see. Like, seeing Lockjaw and Medusa is the type of characters, in my opinion, that we want to see, because it shows you just how far in depth they're going to go with this roster and how many characters. Like, if you went to the average person and you were like, hey, do you know who Lockjaw is? They're going to be like, who? They don't know who that is. They know who Star-Lord is at this point. They know who Iron Man is, and so on and so forth. But we're getting character reveals of characters that the comic book fans would appreciate. And I think that that is super duper cool and very neat to see. And on top of that, honestly, it is insane. Somebody got so lucky that they received the 18-inch statue of Medusa. And I saw them carry it out. I got a picture of it up close, which was really cool. And I actually got to see the design of it and everything. And then I saw them, once they were done, actually put it right away in a shipping box and everything. So it is an actual prize for someone, and it is incredible. I also found out how much it costs, and let's just say a lot. If you're a Lego collector, you know how expensive that build would be. And yes, it's a lot. So let's just put it that way. Now, with all that in mind, those were kind of the official characters. We did see MODOK in action, and actually saw him look much better. So that was really cool. They showed a cool demo that I think this is the same exact demo that they had a few people play a few weeks back when they had like a bunch of previews. So I'm pretty sure it's the exact same type of demo. It was really fun, very cool, and well done. But the other thing that I remember at one point hearing Arthur, and I think that might have been back on the IGN stream, again, just want to give them credit where credit is due, and that was that he said that there would be Egyptian versions of the Avengers, which sounds cool. So similarly to the fact of how we have Captain America as the Western version of him, or cowboy version. Now some people are going back and forth. They're like, it's cowboy Captain America, and then others are saying that it's Western Captain America. But either way, potato, tomato, whatever you want to call him, he's looking pretty awesome, and I'm really excited to see what this Egyptian version of the Avengers might end up being. So with all that in mind, there you guys have it, a pretty lengthy update video for you guys here for LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2. I apologize that I wasn't able to record this while at E3 because, of course, I can't carry all my equipment because I'm also traveling from Canada. You know, when you're traveling in one country, it's a lot easier to bring more equipment, and it doesn't matter. I'm getting on a huge tangent here. Nevertheless, thank you guys so very much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I also do hope that you guys will tune into the next one. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know what your personal favorite announcement was from E3 2017 for LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 specifically. So maybe it was one of the characters that was announced. Maybe it was the little hint, nudge of Arthur saying that I can't say anything, but do not worry, and giving us a little smile. I don't know. To me, those are like, it's a great tease, and I'm hopeful that we would get some type of confirmation about some X-Men characters. And don't forget, guys, that San Diego Comic-Con is right around the corner, and maybe that's where we will get those answers. Thanks all for watching, guys. I'll catch you all next time. Peace out. I'll see you later. Alligators. Bye-bye, everyone.